Okay, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Let's see how things are panning out here. Okay, so Jeff, you seem to be. Oh, that's weird.
Am I
There you are.
am I here? Okay, I'm on my my cell phone. I'm on my iPhone.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
didn't happen. The camera just didn't work. I don't know why.
that's weird.
Very strange, isn't it?
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's too bad.
Yeah, it's too bad. I'll have to figure something out.
Yep, yep, yep.
Let me
Okay,
try to get a stand so I can just steady this iPhone.
all right, sounds good. Let's see.
I'm not sure why it worked yesterday.
Yeah, yeah, we were doing pretty good there yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. It might be Haps. I'm thinking because it just kept saying no. Oh wait, here I am. Oh, okay. I guess it's okay. It's connecting my iPhone.
Yeah, I see you. Yeah, I see you fine and hear you fine. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just use this then.
Yeah, it's
Great. Oh well.
phone. Yep, that's your iPhone.
I need.
Um,
Yeah. I don't have a shoot, 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 shoot. How about if I go like this? That works too, right?
yep, that may be better. Oh, I'm not worthy. I'm
Not
looking at
really.
you from like way down. Okay, there we go. I was feeling pretty
There we go.
intimidated there.
Well,
Yeah.
I have to hold it, so this is. I don't know.
You're used to that though, right?
I'm used to holding things up.
Yeah,
Wait. Where is my stand? Shoot, shoot,
yeah,
shoot.
I
I
was
had
thinking
it.
the same thing. I've got one too, and I can't find my. I've got an iPhone stand here somewhere that I can't seem to locate. Very
Yeah,
strange.
it's weird. Gosh, I'm learning more and more about Haps every time I log in.
I'm learning more and more about how organized you are, or not.
No, no, it should work. I mean, it was working yesterday. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want, you can. Oh, wait, maybe I put it in here.
What?
No, I did not put it in here. I don't know what I did. Strange. All right, well, this is a heck of a start to our philosophical.
It is.
Yeah.
Shoot, shoot a mile. Shoot a mile. Well, it's a shame my camera just is not working. Maybe I'll go to the. Hmm.
That's program volume.
I'm gonna go to the MacBook Pro. Give me a second.
All right, I'll muck around here a little bit.
Okie dokie. I'm upset about that. My main computer just doesn't work.
Yeah, that's.
The camera's just very too bad actually.
Mm,
But we'll see. Yeah. Darn. There's
darn.
no good way. I'm finding out. There's really it's very difficult to find the magic bullet. Mm.
Oh well, we're online. We're rocking and rolling. So
All right. Well, let's begin, shall we? How are you today, there, Daniel?
I'm doing okay. I'd be doing better if we could work out our technical difficulties, but what the heck? Yeah. Um,
I think it's a question of my online hookup here in my office, which is a pain because you have to sign in every time. You know that situation, right?
right, right.
Might be
It,
better doing it somewhere else.
yeah, that could be it. But I mean, my university has those proxy things and security also. Um,
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. And it seems that it's changed over time how, I used to have to log in every time and now it seems to remember it better. I don't know. Don't know how that
Right
works.
on.
All right. Well,
Hang on.
I'm hanging. I'm hanging on. But I can't figure out what I did with my. I'm sure I didn't take it home. Why did I take it home? Oh, it's a wonderment.
Much better, right? Here I
Here I
am.
am. Oh, yeah, yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh, wait, no, I don't want to.
All right. I.
How do I get rid of my phone? I don't want to do it on. My gosh.
Let's see. There we go. Got rid of that. Got rid of your phone. There you are. Yeah, you're looking much better.
Got rid of the phone.
Yeah, you're looking like you again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Back to normalcy.
Well, yeah, that normal's a relative thing, I guess. All right. So,
You look at moi. Yes, I like the first question. Interesting.
yeah. So, yeah, will religion ever become obsolete? Wow. Okay. So what do you think about that?
No, I don't think it ever will.
Really?
I don't think it ever will. No, no.
Hmm.
Because I think, in my experience, humans need that religious aspect.
Okay.
Religion, tends to give people a lot of what they need. I'm not overly religious, but my family is quite religious. And I've discovered that humans, they like to, or they feel they need to look outside of themselves for guidance, and they feel something out there guides them, right, along their way and whatnot. I'm more of one who believes that I can find guidance within myself, or I don't need to look outside. But I think a lot of people do. They find that spirituality, that kind of connection looking outside themselves. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of guidance. Yes. Hmm.
But would that necessarily need to come from religion, so to speak? I mean,
No, but I mean that tends to give people
mm,
that guidance, right? That's
yeah,
what I mean. So that's why I think it will never become obsolete.
yeah. I'm kind of at the opposite end of that. It seems to me, yeah, people need that guidance. There, we're totally in sync. I totally agree with that. Um, but it seems to me that the religion serves more to divide than to unite. Because we're never going to. It seems that we're never going to have a worldwide religion. Um, Not sure that I want one anyway, but there definitely different opinions, different views on life and religion and so on, and so to have one unified religion. Let's see, are you going to take up another guest in this broadcast? Yes, yes, Abyss, if you would
Yeah,
like to
this
join.
from Nashville.
Yeah, and Takara, our treasure, is here
Uh
from Columbus. Yes.
huh. Okay. Takata from Japan. Oh, Columbus. Okay.
From Columbus. That's right. Yeah. Um, but anyway, yeah. So let's see. Let's see. Invite some people here.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I think religion. You're right. I think there won't be any one world religion, but I'm not sure that's going to dissuade people from believing in what they believe. So in that way, I don't think it'll become obsolete or extinct.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. But I guess maybe.
Look at all the different religions right now, and look how much conflict there is. You're right when you said it's just there's so much conflict with different religions and different religious thinking. But I don't think that it's going to end anytime soon. Yeah, I don't think that's going to cause people to stop their beliefs. In other words.
Well, it kind of did me. I mean, I looked at the conflicts that there are simply based on religious differences, and said that if religion was true, that that wouldn't happen. I mean, basically, I mean, if religion is true, because it seems to me that the major overlap between all the religion is love and respect, for your fellow man and so on. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're having conflicts with them that escalate into religious wars and so on, again, that is not to me a reflection of that religion. So therefore, that was a major reason why I started looking critically at religion, and what kind of steered me away from it.
Sure,
So,
sure. And I tend to agree with that. But we're two people out of millions of people who with some kind of religious belief. Yeah.
hmm,
What steered me away from it or questioning religion was I told you this story when I was a kid going to church camp, First Presbyterian church camp.
uh-huh.
And I was about 10. And they showed a movie, a very heavy movie about the rapture, right?
Hmm.
A kid would wake up and go to the kitchen, and his parents would be gone. Everyone is gone, right? There was a pot of food on the stove, still simmering, an electric razor on the bathroom counter, still buzzing. And the kid was like, "Where is everybody? My family's gone." Right. And the gist of the movie was, well, if you don't believe, then you won't be taken up to heaven once again, and you will be here on earth by yourself. So the gist of it was to believe. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I thought that was it was terrible to scare kids like that. I felt very scared and horrified. Uh, and a friend of mine did too. So much so that we left the camp.
Wow.
My parents had a minister from our church, our local church, come over and talk to me and to him as well, my friend, right?
Hmm.
Like, why did this scare you so much? And it's just because my family's gone, and what happened? What happened? Why is my family suddenly gone,
Mm.
and I'm not? Right? Where are they? I don't want my family to be taken away, which was our take on it.
Right.
Um, right. So we were kind of taught to just make sure you believe, and it won't happen. Everything will be fine. In other words, right?
Right.
So for me, it was kind of I know the scare tactics are there to shift us in one direction, right, or another. But I felt that it was quite shocking for me, and I thought that if something's going to do that, a religion or something, some teaching philosophy or something is going to do that, how can it be good?
Right.
That's kind of
Right.
my take on it, and
Yeah.
that threw me off. And
Yeah.
you know,
A couple of points that I'd like to make that feed into that. I mean, yeah, the idea that I hear people talking about, a good God-fearing Christian, you put the fear of God in you and all this, right?
Mhm.
The idea that, the a major tenet of of religion, at least Christianity, is that, the fear of God, and yet, when I read in the Bible, it seems it's the love of God is should be the main thing.
Mhm.
I mean, and we draw the parallel to our earthly parents and so on, right? And the idea, oh, you do what your father says, or you're going to get a whooping or something like that. The fear,
That's right.
but it's the major the major idea, the major thing that holds families together is not fear, it's love, right?
Right.
And so, this fear mongering among, in Christianity, getting people to behave out of fear, I really dislike that.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Exactly. I agree.
and then the rapture thing, that's one of my pet peeves. I
Mhm.
really dislike the this preaching about the rapture and so on, because obviously, I mean, we're now 2,000 years since the time of Christ, right? And Christ, that talk of the rapture was happening during Christ's time, right? Or during the lives of the apostle and so on, and the apostles, and people were like waiting. Oh yeah, this could happen anytime. Oh yeah, there are wars and rumors of wars. Oh, there's this and that happening and so on, right? Oh, it could happen anytime. But for 2,000 years, it hasn't happened. But
Mhm.
during that 2,000 years, millions, hundreds of millions of people have lived and died, right? So it doesn't matter. The rapture, yeah, that would happen to the whole population at
Mhm.
once, the whole population of the earth, that would happen at once, right? But I'm only worried about me, frankly, and so, the rapture, that may or may not happen, but I know I'm going to die. So if you want to scare me about something, you say, yeah, you could walk across the street tomorrow and not make it because some truck driver doesn't see you, and bam, you're done,
Yeah,
right? How
absolutely.
you're not
Sure.
saying you're going to be going to hell or whatever, So I mean, that would be the appeal, not that rapture is coming. Rapture, that's I don't necessarily. I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
It's in the Bible, but I have seen death. I have seen parents, grandparents, friends and family die. I know that's going to happen. So why this rapture thing? I don't get it.
Yeah, there's enough fear already, right? As you just said, right? Sure, absolutely. I totally agree. And I was shocked at that movie, and I think the movie is still on YouTube somewhere if anyone wants to check it out. I saw it. I looked for it about 5 years ago, and I think it's on YouTube somewhere. But yeah, it was for 10 years old. It was quite shocking, right? Although, let me kind of give some positive points to religion. Religion does kind of create a sense of community. There's a sense of kind of togetherness. My family has found that, going to church and finding friends and talking, during the service or after the service, and they enjoy the music and the camaraderie with people together. So it does have that aspect, right? So my sister, my mother, my family in America, right? They have that feeling, right? So uh, if it helps them, right, then well, there you go. Why not?
Yeah, I think our guest is online here. I haven't heard
Yeah,
anything.
well, we can see you, Abyss. There's no camera, but it looks like you are live. Is your
Can you guys hear
microphone?
me?
Yes, okay,
Yes,
great.
we can.
Okay, I just didn't want to interrupt the conversation. That's why.
Oh, no problem at all. Yeah. So if you'd like to contribute, we'd love to hear it.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
uh, at least like in my opinion, I think religion kind of served as a regulator. In some ways, like it was kind of a unifying force um, to edify civilizations. Because if you associate religions that are now obsolete, um, and if you try to relate them to some of the oldest civilizations that exist, it was kind of a unifying force. As Jeff mentioned, it was it did introduce some kind of camaraderie and some regulations to how social behavior should be dictated. But I would also see religion as I mean, there. I don't see that to be like original in a sense, if that makes sense, because we've seen religious, at least like doctrines, kind of being translated and changed from the ancient Sumerians to Babylonians to the Egyptians, the ancient Egypt, even like on distant lands like the Mayan and the Aztec civilizations. There seems to be some kind of a mutual um, a mutual deification, if you will, of certain natural causes. And I think like what religion actually tried to do was try to give its best explanation as to how nature operates, right? And that seemed to have thrived for so long. But right now, in this day and age that we live in, with the advent of science and technology, since we literally can investigate different phenomenon that exist in the universe using scientific tools, which are more logic driven and more rationally grounded. I would see that to be more of the driving force that would probably lead religion to to near obsolescence, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Very interesting. Yes.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, the purpose that that religion has served historically is very important. There, it would be hard to overstate the importance that religion has played in the development of society and culture. Um, but as you said, yeah, as society and culture has developed, I feel that religion in of itself is not really necessary. That we can find other ways to get the support and the guidance that religion has supplied until now. Um, so the
Right.
family unit beyond the family unit, the society as a whole, and so on. To if we work on working together as a functioning society instead of the dysfunctional type of society that we see in so many parts of the world, that's going to be more for us than any religion possibly could. I think. Yeah.
Right. And also to add to your point, Daniel, that you mentioned that you found some of the literature that's in the Bible to be somehow abhorrent by current standards, because there's a lot of talk about, you know, slavery and like among other things, at least like in the Old Testament. I believe that at least like one of the arguments that I see from theists is that religion provides some kind of universal moral background. Like it has like sort of like an objective moral standards, and I really I actually have issue with that statement, because moral relativism is has changed as society start to adapt, as we start to communicate more and more within our own tribes and with other tribes that are near the locales that we're in. It's the moral standards that we adhere to have changed with time. And clearly, I think like one um, simple example to provide is that, you know, things that were permissible like 20, 30 years ago are actually very problematic by current
Mhm.
standards. Like you can think about, movies or TV shows that used to um, at least shade, or at least like paint women in certain light, are now being heavily critiqued. So you can see that society is trying to sculpt its moral standards. So nothing is set in stone, unlike what religion or most religious people have you think. And I would argue that it's our own awareness that will lead us into developing what what moral standards we should abide by when it comes to communicating um, or creating like a civilization, communicating with each other and creating a civilization that will thrive. So I would see more relativism to be evolving than something which is set in stone. That probably would someone would have you think that it's immutable.
Right. Good point.
Right. I
Yeah.
agree too. I think it will be right, very fluid and mobile as opposed to set in stone. Also,
Yes.
indeed.
Yeah, I agree.
What bothers me about Christianity, the conflict, the friction between, for example, Christianity and Islam is uh, the base beliefs are so similar in the historically. I mean, women were second class citizens, were almost viewed as property, even with within Christianity. I mean, especially go back to the old Bible. Men with multiple wives and so on, and as you said, slavery and things like that. Um, Women were not to be in a position of teaching or authority and so on. Uh, and we, or the Christian religion has evolved over time, and has started to read the Bible more liberally and so on. And then they look at Islam, which still seems to maintain, some of the more fundamentalist beliefs that, as I said, are similar, parallel to those of Christianity, and yet we see them as, because they haven't evolved, but they've come from the same place, and yet there's so much conflict. But coming from the same place of Christianity understands the need for liberalization, for relativization of their views and so on, and yet they still tenaciously hold on to some of those core tenets that again seem to me obsolete and if anything counterproductive.
They sure do. Uh, I agree with that point, but I think that still, I don't think when you talk about the degree of religion, I still don't think that it will ever, at least in some point of belief, will ever become obsolete. Uh, and I understand your point, of course, historically, but I think that people still will need something like that, and they will adhere to some kind of belief, whether it be strong religion or what have you, into the future.
Yeah, it's
But
difficult.
in that respect, I don't believe it will become obsolete.
Right. Yeah, I think for
Maybe it's the semantics, but
yeah, for a number of people, it's I think becoming obsolete. But then there are the masses that whose thoughts seem to not quite parallel some of the the individuals. Right. So when you start dealing with the masses, yeah, perhaps I'm overly optimistic.
hmm,
My feeling that religion will become obsolete. Uh,
yeah.
but
Yeah, and also to add some few points, I guess like Daniel, you mentioned that at the probably at the start of the broadcast, but I feel like spirituality is starting to um, move closely to secularism as opposed to being intertwined with certain religious with certain kind of religion, if that makes sense. Because right now, I mean, I've seen people that are atheists and yet call themselves spiritual in a sense, and that community is starting to grow. And I feel like there's sovereigns of merriment between religion and the spirituality that it's supposed to provide. So people are starting to kind of isolate the two into different bins and choose spirituality without without performing religious. I mean, at least like going for the religious part at least.
mm,
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, great. So, will religion ever become obsolete? Yeah. Obviously, we don't have the answer to that, but it is a very
Mm.
interesting question.
Right.
Let's take a look.
But
Let's
I
take a look.
think like sorry, Daniel. Like
No,
I was actually thinking hard about this question. I mean, not today, but like sometime before. It
mhm,
seems like we're starting to adapt old religions into our own narrative. Like I don't know if you guys are into superheroes or comics. Like
mm,
there is an active effort to sort of indoctrinate deities from the Norse mythologies, from the Greek mythologies into current comic book heroes. And in a way, for me, the best thing that I can define or at least see as comic book is like it's not religious per se, but it's our best reflection of what a deity might be, or how potent a deity might be, and given that the universe is as vast as we know today. So I see the introduction of those deities from old mythologies to be a way of not reviving the religion per se, but sort of plagiarize it, to put it bluntly, and
Mhm.
to make those deities that used to be worshipped in the past to still live on, but in a different light.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah.
I hadn't actually put the Marvel universe hadn't pictured it that way, but it makes total sense. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and if you're into DC, they also introduce Greek gods. So, yeah.
Right, right.
There
Yeah,
you go. Right.
yeah. So yeah, religion will maybe not become obsolete, but will be dictated by the comic book creators of the future.
Yeah, probably.
Or science fiction writers. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that
Okay,
too.
all right. Oops. Sorry, I skipped over question number two. Um, Question number two was supposed to be, if you could teach everyone in the world one concept, what concept would have the biggest positive impact on humanity? That's question number two.
Yeah. That's a hard. What do you mean by concept?
Uh, I leave
Thought pattern or?
station.
Hmm.
So if you could,
Wow.
yeah. So for
Jeff, would
me, if I could teach everyone in the world one concept, it would be that I guess the concept that religion is obsolete. I I honestly believe we could
Yeah.
off without it. So that would have the biggest positive. No more religious conflict. No more feeling guilty because of this. Or not based on some abstract God figure that's looking over us. But bring it down to human terms. That would be mine. There is religion is an obsolete concept. Yeah.
Mine would probably be the golden rule. I'm not sure if that has any religious uh, ties to it, but the golden rule is treat others as you would want to be treated.
That seems great. Yeah, religion. Yeah, it does. The question's not about religion, really.
Mhm.
I brought that into it, but just the concept
Mhm.
that we have the biggest positive impact on humanity. So yeah, the golden rule, which,
Golden rule would be mine. Yeah.
which is really the idea of empathy, right? I mean,
Mhm.
to me, that is what the humanity needs more than anything else
Mhm.
is to really develop our empathy for everyone, instead of just our close friends and family, but be able to empathize with people across the globe, and that's that might save us. Yeah.
I think we've lost a lot of what it means to be empathetic. Indeed. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Right. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think that will really bring people back together. I think there's too much emphasis on success or making something of your life, right? Our lives are our lives, and why isn't that good enough?
Right, right.
You know.
Ed,
Uh,
Edward commented, personal responsibility, sovereignty of the individual.
mhm. Yes,
Right, yeah, yeah,
interesting.
Hmm.
yeah.
I would I would actually say it's rationality, in my opinion. So if should teach everyone, it's not like have sort of like the rational superiority, but to mutually at least like elevate the rationality, because I feel like empathy and other human emotions can be embedded in rationality, because like for example, like if you're actually doing something bad to someone, right? And the rational way of thinking is that, would you be able to feel good if you were to be in that person's shoes? So I feel like, well, this is like a very reduced kind of rationality, but I talked about this in my first broadcast about Bayesian thinking, is that most of our beliefs are sort of grounded in um, I mean, in a hodgepodge kind of way. It's not like, we're very messy when it comes to identifying key concepts and key ideas that
Mhm.
actually fundamentally drive the world around us. And if we employ certain rationality, and I think like, well, in my opinion, I mean, I can be wrong, but I think like empathy can also be embedded as part of a rationality itself. But I feel like if everybody employs rational thinking, that they can probably make the world a better place. But that's, like I
Mm.
said, that's also my opinion.
Absolutely.
Very good. Yeah, very, very good. I agree with that too.
Yes, yeah.
I think it would make the world a better place, indeed.
Right.
Okay, all right. Well, okay,
Mhm. Mhm.
that was short and sweet, but I think we came to came to the heart of the idea there. Yeah, and this let's go on to the third question now.
Mhm. Here's one comment by Takara.
Oh,
Along the same lines of empathy, my immediate answer to the question when it was asked was teaching the concept of unconditional love. Oh, absolutely, sure.
oh, this is something I'm sorry, and I thank you very much for the for the comment, Takara. The unconditional love, um, that's something that scares me, quite frankly, because unconditional love I see as the root of abusive relationships. If someone has unconditional love for their partner, and even though their partner abuses them, they maintain that they maintain that love, they love them unconditionally, and then that
Mhm.
continues. So I think
Right.
necessarily there are conditions, there have to be conditions on love. I mean, we like that phrase, it sounds so nice, but in all honesty, the concept of unconditional love, I think, is maybe a dangerous idea.
Mhm. Mhm.
I fully understand you, Daniel, because like you said, unconditional love is prone to abuse um, if it's taken for granted. And I feel like it's sort of endemic to humanity that we try to outsmart each other. And I think like if you believe in evolution, I guess like, I wouldn't call it belief, but if you um, at least like entertain the idea that we actually evolved through time, that our ancestors had to be cunning to kind of outsmart even the same, even like the species that belong to the same genus as us, like the Neanderthals and Denisovans. So the reason that they're not here, but we are here, is because I wouldn't say outsmarted them, but at least like I believe, in fact, like um, most scientists would agree that we have the cunning ability, or at least like the ability to survive at the behest of like exterminating our cousins, if you will. So what I'm trying to say is that, it's in human nature to actually um, kind of second guess things. So that's why I see unconditional love to be prone to some kind of abuse, like you just said.
Mhm.
Great, great. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, shall we go on quickly then to our third question? Our third question is suffering a necessary part of the human condition? What would people who never suffer? Hmm.
That's an interesting one. I think first of all we have to define what you mean by suffering, right? A little bit of inconvenience, or right, truly suffering as in losing someone you love, uh, or right, being in pain, right? Physical pain. I mean, cutting off your small finger or something, right?
Right. Yeah.
Uh, there are some people who say that suffering, going through suffering, makes you a stronger person.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. That is the classic, the classic statement. Yeah. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger type of
Mhm.
thing. But yeah, when I read that question, I thought to myself, have I ever suffered? I mean, I've been uncomfortable. I had challenges, but have I ever suffered?
That's what I mean, right? What is suffering exactly, right? Yeah.
Um, what?
I've
Yeah.
heard that people think that Japanese people like suffering because there's so many things they have to go through. There's rigorous language, right? There's ceremonial things. There's kind of kowtowing to superiors and whatnot. And some people say that it's kind of the suffering of the society makes people kind of strong and able to withstand a lot. Yeah.
Right. Right.
But I
So
don't
what do
think
you
that
think?
suffering can. Sorry, you're about to say something, Jeff.
No, I was just going to say to Dan to continue on that
Okay.
point. But Abyss, what were you just going to say?
No, I was gonna at least say that suffering is not only a human character; like it's ubiquitous among all animals. So I think it behooves us to define what human suffering is. And to your point, of course, I mean, if you can get some kind of boost from suffering, or at least like, and if you suffer enough, and if that makes you stronger, that's fine. But if you suffered enough to perish, that's not a good thing as well. So so yeah, I mean, I don't. So the reason why I mentioned this because I don't think suffering is just a human phenomenon. It's ubiquitous among all animals, and I think seeing that we're not completely isolated from other animals. The fact that suffering and pleasure makes us the same with other animals that kind of live around the world makes, at least for me, it's a humbling thought to think about that like pleasure and pain are kind of ubiquitous in a way. That makes sense.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
to a certain extent, the suffering, uh, whether it's a suffering or not, or the how we define that suffering or how we evaluate that suffering depends mostly on the outcome of that suffering, as you said. So if the outcome is the death of the organism, then that's a bad outcome. But if the outcome is a strengthening of that organism, it's a good outcome. I mean, anybody who's gone to the gym and worked out, and had the muscle pain for a day or two afterwards. I mean, that's on some level suffering, but the benefit far outweighs the suffering in that we end up with a stronger, healthier body after that
Right.
period of suffering. Yeah, that
Mhm.
makes
Mhm.
perfect sense.
And also, you need to experience suffering to know what it is, right?
Mm.
So, a person that's devoid of suffering, I don't think that person has any idea what pain actually is. So that kind of strips the humanity out of that as well.
Sure. There are many different kinds of suffering on many different levels. Yeah, sure. There's that physical suffering in the gym, but you maybe look good or feel good afterwards. There's suffering of losing a loved one or having a relationship break up and going through that kind of suffering, which hopefully you can find someone after that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to me that I guess each person could assign their own degrees of suffering or levels of suffering to different things. But in my mind, the emotional, the psychological suffering would tend to be far greater in my mind than physical suffering. Although again, I feel that I have really never suffered. Not really. Again, I've had operation. I've required operations for some physical conditions. I've had breakups. I've had my one of my parents pass away, and so on. So I've
Mm-hmm.
experienced these kind of things, but I'm not sure that I would define any of that as suffering because it's just part of life. If it's a natural happening, then it's part of life. To me, suffering is something that's above and beyond, um, and maybe that's my own twisted definition of suffering. But to me, I almost feel like I haven't suffered.
Well, it's quickly to your point. Doesn't it have a lot to do with our perception
Right.
of it, right?
Mm.
So if we perceive it as something horrendous, maybe, and that we're suffering, then we will be suffering, right? So I think it has a lot to do with how we perceive events and things in our lives.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I just thought of something like there is um, a neuroscience kind of explanation as to why suffering has more profound effect on the brain than anything else, because the brain, uh, I don't know if you guys know about this, but if you lose neurons, especially like in the cortical area, which is like the outer surface of the brain, those neurons would be lost forever, and those are kind of important for our higher cognitive abilities. And if you look at people that suffer from dementia, like Alzheimer's, for example, there is a kind of a feed forward kind of loop, because that when they're confronted with something that they used to know but they cannot remember, and when they're reminded that they forgot about it, that would cause them more pain, and that would further exacerbate the effect of the Alzheimer's. So in a way, it's suffering and its greatest extent is actually impacting our minds, the brain, essentially, because most of the body parts that we know so far, except it's few exceptions like the heart tissue, can be regenerated through natural causes, unless like aging kind of interferes. So I think it's a fair assessment to say that not only that our mental state can be cause of our wellness, as well as the suffering that we find ourselves in, but in addition to that, it will indelibly alter our cognitive function in such a way that it will go into like a death spiral, unless it's kind of pulled out by some medication or psychiatric intervention.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Any comments, Jeff?
No, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's and again, it goes back to perception and whatnot, and how we kind of perceive things. And you mentioned a good point about physical suffering through through some medical condition, if we look at that as the meaning, I watched my father suffer with pancreatic cancer about 15 years ago. He was in drastic pain, right, for several months actually, and I remember his final days when he couldn't eat anything or drink anything. His mouth had black sores in it. Yeah, the only thing he could eat was ice cream, and just in terrible physical pain. So I hated to see him suffer. So that's another realm of suffering. So I think he truly did suffer. Of course, that was a different kind of suffering. So I think, finally he was happy to end it, right, to have it finished. Yeah. And it was interesting because I was visiting him from Japan, and I left. I actually asked the doctor, because I had plans to come back here to Japan, and he was on his kind of last leg. Although we didn't know that, and I asked the doctor, I have plans to go back to Japan tomorrow. What should I do? Should I kind of make a different flight? Should I stay another week? What should I do? And the doctor said, well, you have to live your life. We don't know when he's going to go, actually, right? It could be another week, could be a month. So you have to live your life. And I said goodbye to him and came back to Japan. And the day after I got back to Japan, I went home and I saw the curtain on my house flip, like my wife was looking to see if I came home. And I had gotten a call from my mom that, yes, my dad had died the day after I got back to Japan. So I think my mom said that he was waiting, or that he had asked if my sister and I were, back to life as normal. And she said, yes, of course. I got back to Japan and my sister went back home. Then he died. So I think he was waiting. He was actually quite happy to go after that suffering.
Yeah, it must have been a bad experience, a really terrible experience.
That was a hard experience. Yeah, that was really tough. Because I had just come back, and I actually did go back for the funeral a little while later, but not immediately. So that was hard. Yeah. So yeah, sorry to bring the conversation down a little bit. But.
Oh no. It's
no, yeah.
Definitely fits right in with our idea of suffering. It's a difficult subject to talk about. I mean, death and suffering. Maybe not good to have this as the last question. Kind of brings us down. Should have ended maybe on a high note instead of this question. But I'm of the opinion. I know that my mother is now 93 years old and still living alone. My father passed away a few years ago, but she's written a living will. She does not, want to be, kept alive artificially, and that probably partly from her influence. But I'm also of the mind that, I don't believe in the concept of life for the sake of life. I mean, if it's a life that is nothing but suffering, and there is really no pleasure being had, no enjoyment to be had from that existence. It's better to move on to the next phase, whatever that is, regardless of what that is or isn't. It almost seems that that's the best choice, the best thing to happen. Okay. All right. So I think maybe it's about time. We've been on for almost an hour now. It's about time to wrap things up, I think. I'm going to try something here. I've found a couple of quotes that I thought that are philosophical quotes that I
Good.
thought to look at. Okay.
That's great. Good. Lay them on us.
Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." The unexamined life is not worth living.
There you go.
Yeah. I actually listened to a podcast called the Partially Examined Life. They were inspired by this particular uh, famous quote by Socrates. And I'm not sure that I feel that. I'm not sure that I agree with it. I mean, for myself, yes, I definitely feel the drive, the need to examine my own life and the meaning of life, and and all the nooks and crannies and so on. But to say that the unexamined life is not worth living, there are huge masses of people, and I wouldn't say that their lives are not worth living, and yet they are so preoccupied. They are so occupied, not pre. They are so occupied uh, completely with just surviving and providing for themselves and their families and so on. Um, I'm not sure to what extent we could say that they have examined their lives, and yet I think that their lives are definitely worth living. Jeff,
Sounds great. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. All right,
Thank you very much for
Yeah.
the for the quote, Daniel.
yeah. Any other comments about that particular quote? No.
No, I
Uh,
think it's good. Yeah.
yeah, I guess I don't know. I mean, as beings that seem to claim some kind of cognitive superiority to other animals on this planet, I think it's some kind of important to kind of quiet down the instinctive approach and try to engage in a much higher complex thinking. And I think in that sort of way, I can understand that it's actually worth life living if you really examine it, if you have an introspective dissection of your abilities, your thought process and everything. But like you mentioned, Daniel, not everybody goes through that process. Somehow they're mired in the workaday lives, right? So their own workaday lives. So I see that to be um, uh, kind of dismissive to all lives, human lives. But I think it's kind of important to um, give people a chance to sort of wake up from this um, default mode that they're engaged in on a daily basis. Of course, it makes things a lot more simpler because if you're not thinking hard about some of the things that you engage in on a daily basis, it makes life. I mean, it makes life a lot more easier for you. But um, at least sometimes people need to just snap and just realize or internalize that they're living in a world that's kind of full of wonders. And yeah, that's my final takeaway.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yep.
Good observations. Great. Thank you very much. Okay, well, we're just at the 1 hour mark here now, which is I think is probably a good place to wrap this up. Do not to edit the great Socrates, but for me makes that saying okay. Oh, for me, right? For me, I see. Charles has given us a
Hmm.
here. Yeah. Um, yeah, the unexamined for me, the unexamined life is not worth living. Right. And I would quote that. I would say that for myself. But yeah, to make that as a blanket statement for humanity or for as Abyssa has said, for life of in whatever form, to make that
Hmm.
statement is I think probably inappropriate. As great as Socrates was, yeah, he seems a little elitist in this case, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's important to look at our lives and the meaning of lives, and we all arrive at that ourselves, I think, and as we should continue to look at our lives and the meaning for us. Yeah.
Yep, yep. Okay, great. So, let's see. Edward came in. We are all original. Be great.
Yeah.
Let's go and be great. great.
I agree, Edward. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Edward was our first guest on Layman's Philosophy a few days ago, and a couple of weeks ago. Last week was it? Yeah. It's a good experience. So, and thank you again, Abyss, today for.
Mhm. Thank you, Abyss.
Yeah, it
Thank
made
you.
a better broadcast. Thanks for your input. Look forward. Hope you'll be listening, and perhaps you can join in again sometime in the near future.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
great.
All right, that's all for today.
right.
For those of you that are interested, I will be in a short time here. I will be doing a quiz broadcast, various quizzes. Um, the first one we're going to try and do is called the Friendly Feud, kind of a family feud type thing, just a little bit of fun. See if you can guess the most popular answers to questions that were given in a survey to 100 people, that type of thing, and so on. And maybe we'll do some other quizzes about America and Japan and so on around the world also. But there'll be some kind of a quiz show broadcast coming up right after this. So anyway, thanks again, everyone, all our viewers. Once again, Abyss, for joining us, and see you again this time next week, right, for Layman's Philosophy. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Dan.